We're going to be factoring polynomial expressions by using the grouping method. For us to be successful, we need to be able to factor out the GCF, group our terms in parentheses, factor out the GCF from the parentheses, rewrite polynomial expressions, and then factor out the GCF again if possible. So if we don't catch the GCF on the first step, we'll be able to catch it on the fifth step. So for this first example, we're going to have 2x cubed plus 8x squared plus 3x plus 12. We look at all the terms and see if there's a GCF. There is no GCF, so our next step would be to group them. Now I'm going to group the first two terms using parentheses, and then I'm going to group the last two. Now we look for the GCF between each group of parentheses. So on the first one, if we look at 2x cubed plus 8x squared, we want to look at the coefficients first. And between 2 and 8, the GCF is 2. And then we want to look at the variables. The GCF between x cubed and x squared is x squared. So when you factor out the GCF, you're basically dividing by that number that you're factoring out. So in this case, we're dividing by 2x squared and 2x squared. And 2x cubed divided by 2x squared is simply x. Then 8x squared divided by 2x squared. Now we look at the next two terms, and we do the same thing. Between 3 and 12, the GCF is 3. And then there's an x here only. There's no x on the second term, so our GCF here would be 3. Now to eliminate any possible errors with signs, just simply bring down the sign that is already here. And now to factor out, we're going to divide each term by the GCF. So 3x divided by 3 and 12 divided by 3. So here we get x. You know that you did it correct when both of these numbers that are in the parentheses after the GCF has been factored out are exactly the same. So now that we have our new expression, now we're going to take out the GCF again. Notice how both of them have x plus 4 as one of the factors. So we're going to factor that out. And again, it's like dividing each one of those terms by x plus 4, which basically cancels this one and cancels that one. And what we have left over is this 2x squared plus 3. So this is the factored form of for our next example, we're going to use x cubed plus 6x squared minus x minus 6. So first we want to see if there's a GCF between all four terms, and there is not. So we move on to the next step, which is to group the first two terms together and the last two terms. So between the first two terms, we look at the coefficients. There's 1 here and 6 here. So the GCF between my numbers is 1. Then we have x cubed and x squared. My GCF between variables is x squared. And again, we divide each one by the GCF, and x cubed divided by x squared is simply x. 6x squared divided by 1x squared is a positive 6. Now we bring down this minus sign. Again, we look at our coefficients. We've got 1 and 6 again. So that's a 1. And this one has a variable. Your constant doesn't have a variable. So it cannot be part of our GCF. And then we divide each term by -1. So -1 times x is a positive x. -6 divided by -1 is a positive 6. We know we did it correct because these two are exactly the same. So now we're going to factor out what they have the same. Because remember, it's like if we're dividing each side by x plus 6. And whatever we have left over is our second factor. So we've got x squared minus